say, if you like 3 blocks for dolphin, we are going to pull to the wall today and do that. So if you decide you want one later, you can get one. But if you already know that it sounds like heaven, go ahead and grab yourself an extra, because I've been thinking about it all morning.
It's the only thing I really use update on the blockies. Thank you very much for that, dear. I appreciate you.
No, but they're very nice for supporting and dolphin. And
yeah.
Today it sounds like a good idea. So get comfortable. You all know, sit however you choose. If you like to sit up on blankets, grab as many as you want. And same thing at home. Let yourself just start to settle in. Accept your breaths as you close your eyes gently. And just make little circles, little tiny circles with your torso, going one way and the other, just so you shift a little bit front to one side, to back, to the other, just so you kind of feel your sitting bones evening out a little bit. You can do as many of those as you want, or you can stop on back at center when you're ready. And then just lengthen up through the crown of your head. Let your hands come to a very comfortable place to rest. Feel your shoulders really nice and wide and open wherever your hands are resting. And accept your breaths in and out through your nose. Feeling the breath coming into the belly. Comfortable to come into those 3-part breaths. You can start the inhale in the belly, rise on up through the ribs to your chest. And let your next exhale bring you forward. So depending on how you're sitting, letting your hands come down to the floor with a nice long spine as you come forward. And of course, if you're in your chair, you can separate your feet. If you're long-legged, you can walk out over your legs a little bit. And if you're cross-legged, you can come as far forward as feels good. So once you get to where you feel that low back is leading you forward, if it feels good to go ahead and fold over there at the end, by all means do. Don't force anything, just let it feel really good. Let yourself try to let go through your face and your jaw. If you can, let your head hang too. And now come up enough to walk out over towards your right thigh. So you come out over to the side a little bit. Once you get as far as you want to go, again, try to let your head release if possible and enjoy feeling the breath here. And then walk back through center, and we're going to go to the other side. So again, however far feels good, let yourself feel a little more there through that right side of the body. And then we'll come back into center again. We're going to walk our hands on back up, letting ourselves come all the way up to sitting, releasing our arms out beside us here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale our hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's inhale our right arm all the way out and up overhead, and then just bend your elbow. Let your hand come maybe to the back of your head or your neck or to your upper back. Lengthen up through your elbow there. And if you want, you can bring your left arm up and over the top so that you take your hand onto your elbow. Now that's not necessary. Don't do it if it's too much for your shoulder. To release your tricep there a little more. One more breath. And now just unfold both arms on back down beside you, letting yourself release all the way back down towards the ground with your fingertips. And let's inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And then first just bend the elbow and let the hand come again. Kind of explore where your hand is going to come to back there, right? Keep your gaze forward so you're not collapsing into the upper back here. It's almost like your chest comes a little bit more forward. And then bring, if you want, the right hand up and over, arm over the top, hand onto your elbow. So just releasing here. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. Feel the belly gently engaging. Just make sure you're not trying to tuck your tailbone up under you. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to unfold both arms on down beside us again. And let's clasp our hands behind us here now. And now flex through your feet a little bit if you're cross-legged. Press into the outsides of your feet. And if you're on the floor, press down, in the chair, press down into your feet, or your heels can come into the floor. And come forward just a little bit. So you're still, it's almost like you're leading with your chest a little. And let the arms stay back there. If you feel good to release your arms off your back, do. Some of you may even want to fold more over your legs and really let your arms come up a little bit higher. It depends on your shoulders. Don't force it. And then we'll come down with the hands as we rise ourselves on back up. Lean back enough if you're cross-legged to switch the cross of your legs here. And then everybody's going to sit up nice and tall again, lengthening up through the crown of the head. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right. So now getting the spine open up a little bit here, coming into your twist. Doesn't matter how far back you can look directly beside you if you'd like. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction. So let yourself ease up there into the top of the head. Feel the chin parallel to the floor. And one more breath. And as you exhale, make your way on back into center. Now let's float our arms up and bring our left arm on top of our right here at first. Let your elbows melt down, no matter where you want your hands to be. It doesn't matter how low or high they are. And then go ahead and bring your chin down towards your chest. And start to move your head around a little bit. Doesn't matter how. I mean, once you start moving, you'll kind of know where you want to go, where your tightness is in your neck, in your upper back, what feels good. You can even kind of let your shoulders go with it if you want to. So your shoulders kind of move around a little bit too, forward or side to side. And then finish off back so that you can rise your gaze forward. If you can head either towards a half eagle or an eagle wrap, do. Feel free to stay hugging instead of doing that wrap of the arms. If you are in the eagle arms here, see if you can let your elbows float up a little bit, but imagine your shoulders melting down. And we'll unwind our arms from here. Stretch them out into a T position for a second. Let yourself reach out through your fingertips. And let's bring our right arm on top of our left. And again, as you give yourself that hug, start to allow the head to move around. And again, maybe the shoulders. I mean, you know, if you like to roll your ear towards your shoulder and let yourself come a little into a side kind of bend there. And maybe you don't, you know, maybe that doesn't feel good. Just be mindful, kind of wiggle around a little bit. And then once you feel ready to rise your chin back up so you're parallel to the floor now with your chin, releasing either into half wrap or full wrap. Stay hugging, of course, if you want. And again, if you can let your shoulders melt down, elbows just gently rise up if you're in your wrap. And then we'll unwind our arms right on back down from there. Bring your fingertips back behind you on the floor and stretch your legs out long here. Draw the chest forward. Let yourself, you can go more onto flat hands if you want, or stay up on your fingertips, whatever feels good. Bring your gaze where it's comfortable. And then we're going to rise on back up to sitting and shake out your legs a little bit. Do little leg bounces if you want. We're coming around towards our hands and knees. So, if you don't want to be on your knees, grab your blanket. Totally optional how you want to come into your cat-cow here, so you decide if you feel like being up on fists rather than down onto flat hands, or if you need support underneath your hands or your knees. And then just shift your hips a little side to side at first. Let your head respond however it wants. Let the hips just shift a little one way and then the other. And then come on back into center and go ahead and start to move through your cat-cow very naturally and easily. Stop whenever you want. If you like to be in cat or cow for a couple of breaths without moving, then go right ahead and do that. Good. And then we'll complete the one that we're on or that we're moving into. And come on back to more neutral spine. And let's go down onto our forearms from here. Let yourself come onto your forearms and just go ahead and clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out, press down into your forearms. And then bring your left knee a little more forward and reach your right leg back so that it's like you're doing a lunge, but you're on your left knee instead of on your foot, right? And you're just releasing into the back of that right leg. One more breath there. And then we're going to switch legs. So the right knee comes in, the left leg comes back. And, you know, if this bothers your right knee, come up higher. Let yourself just stretch the leg back, being up higher so that you're not so deeply bending that right knee. But you're using support of your forearms. You're kind of pressing into your forearms, so you're not putting a lot of weight on the knee. Good. And then let's come on back. Bring both our knees underneath our hips here now. Shift your hips back towards pose of a child. It doesn't matter whether you go all the way or not. Let your arms soften overhead. And breathe into your low back. Whether your hips are up a little bit higher off your heels or not, doesn't matter. One more nice full breath. Good, and then we're going to come on back up to all fours and curl our toes under and come into a downward facing dog pose here. And take your time. Actually pick your right foot up off the floor and let your foot circle around. And then put it back down and do the same with your left, just to let yourself feel your ankle. Feel your foot wiggling around. Come on back down with both feet. Walk your dog a little bit. Let yourself be really mindful. You can easily just release one heel at a time closer towards the ground. And let yourself find your calves, the backs of your legs a little deeper. Nice. And then let's bring ourselves knees both back down to the floor. Step our left foot forward. If you like your blocks for a lunge here, you can get your blocks under your hands. Come on up into that first lunge, that runner's lunge here. So take your time. Be mindful. Let yourself feel the feet in the floor. Really enjoy coming into the back of the right leg there and engage the belly a little bit. Good. And we're going to switch legs. So however you choose to do that. Letting yourself come to the other side. Feet like they're on narrow railroad tracks. So you get that sense of feeling really good into your hips in your lunge. Good. We're going to switch legs again. And this time, see if you can think about reaching your left arm up so that it comes up by your ear. Turn your pinky down towards the floor and your thumb up towards the ceiling. So there's this long line through the body here. And then bring that left hand back down. We're going to switch legs again. So that same leg that's forward, that's the arm that you're going to think about rising up and bringing that arm up by the ear so that you turn the palm to face in towards the midline of the body. Pinky is down, thumb is up. Feel the feet in the floor, engage the belly. Nice, we're going to bring that hand back down. We're going to step forward and come on into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Feel free to put your elbows above your knees. You know that. If your back feels like you need it to be lengthened, do it. If you're fine to fold over your legs, you can let yourself release to where you're comfortable to be. And just be mindful. Actually, go ahead and bend one knee at a time a little bit. So you're walking your Uttanasana, but you're keeping your heels on the ground. So it's just a tiny little knee bend. It's coming a little deeper into the backs of the legs. And then come on back into bending both your knees a tiny little bit. Follow your breath now, all the way in and all the way out. Wherever you like your hands to go, use whatever support you want. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now, in your mountain pose here, see if you can shift slightly to the balls of the feet and then your heels. So you're just going forward and back just a little bit. Not so much you feel like you're going to fall over. And then kind of feel like you're centered again and do the same thing going right to left. So you shift your way just a little. It's easier to do that one than the forward to back. Doesn't feel so much like you're going to fall over. But and then come back again to feeling centered between your feet. Let your tailbone drop down towards between your heels. Once that pelvis is aligned, it's so easy. Really, the body wants to come into alignment. Think of your hips coming over your ankles, your shoulders over your hips. Shoulders released away from your ears. Imagine your head is floating up in the clouds. And then as we unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bend our knees, come on forward into that standing forward bend, hinging from the hips. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back wherever you want your hands to be. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time, hug your elbows towards each other. If you need to walk your dog, do. Really let yourself reach back equally through your sitting bones. If you need to bend your knees, really, by all means, you can bend both knees. Really feel that length of the torso, the length through the sides of the body. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Nice and strong. Engage your belly. Feel your sitting bones reaching down towards your heels. And now bend your elbows a little bit. Let them come in towards each other like you're holding a beach ball between your elbows. Don't go all the way or halfway even. And then come back to longer arms. So there's your biceps, there's your shoulders. Do that again and see if you can bend your elbows. Let yourself just stay a little tiny bit bent. And then come back long again. This next time we're going to lower all the way down to the floor. Put your knees down first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. Now let's come on to fingertips. Our hands are right by our chest. Hug our elbows in towards each other. And now let your elbows be drawn down towards your waist as you lift your head up off the ground. Now feel your belly working. Feel the tops of the toes in the floor. Little cobra here. And then come back down with your head. Let your knees bend. Flex your feet. Feel your quads. And then again, just lift just your head a tiny little bit up off the floor. Just a little bit. Keep flexing your feet. One more breath. And then we're going to lower the head and the feet down. And we're going to come on back into down dog, whether you come through a half or a full push-up. Reaching back into your downward facing dog pose. Hug those elbows softly towards each other. And we'll step our right foot forward to come into lunge here. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Go right to your breath. If you're okay to hold your elbows, let your hands just lightly hold on to your elbows. If not, don't do it. And just breathe. Let the pose do the work for you. Just make sure you're not dropping back behind yourself with your hips. And we will from here bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up to standing, and inhale the arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. Once they're up there, open to a wide V. Draw your pinkies towards each other. Let it be maybe even a little wider than you usually are, right? So you really feel the shoulders down. Also, if you can look up a little bit, imagine there's a string attached to your sternum, okay? And it's coming forward on a diagonal line. But keep your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. One more breath. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward from the hips into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale the left foot back to come to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Have fun in dog. Get yourself established there. Good. And we're going to come on out to plank. Nice and strong again. And we're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Once you get down, come onto your forearms into a little Sphinx pose. Let yourself spread your fingers wide. Have your hands facing down towards the floor. Spread those fingers really nice and wide. Look and make sure your hands look pretty even. And enjoy feeling your hands on the floor, right? Without a lot of weight in them. Kind of press down at the same time into your pinkies and your thumbs. And then try pressing down into your pointer fingers and your ring fingers more. And then just go press into the middle fingers the most there. Nice. And now bring your hands together. Clasp your hands. And go ahead and send your pinky finger out for a second. And bend your knees. Lift up into a little half forearm plank. So just engage the belly. Let it feel pretty good. Imagine you're pulling yourself towards the front of your mat. You're on the flesh above your knees there. Good. And then let your legs come along. We're going to roll onto our left side. We're going to do a little forearm side plank, right? So just to warm up a bit, put your right foot on the floor in front of your left leg here. And then lift up your hips. Press into that foot. And go ahead and stretch your right arm up overhead if you can. So there you are, pressing into the forearm, letting yourself enjoy, coming into that side plank, waking up the shoulder. Good. And then we're going to come on down. We're going to roll back through center, and we're going to go to the other side. So again, right elbows right under your shoulder. Let yourself be comfortable there. Left foot, the top foot comes on top, and then lifting up the hips. And letting yourself press into that forearm. You can even look up at the ceiling if that feels good. Look up towards your hand there. Feel the whole body in this pose here. Nice. We're going to come on back down. We're going to roll back to our bellies again. Come back to your Sphinx pose for a second. Good. And then roll on back down. Bring your hands by your chest. And let's come into a cobra pose. You don't have to go all the way up. You can stay low. You know that. Finding your choice of cobra. And then we're going to let ourselves come back to down dog. If you can curl your toes under and just reach back into your down dog, do. Walk a little bit in your dog. Just for fun, bring your feet a little closer together. Lift your right leg up in the air, bend the knee, and open the hip. You can look underneath your right arm, stack your right hip on top of your left. Good. We're going to release that one back down to the floor and switch. So just bend the knee, let the hip open, look underneath your arm a little bit there. Good. And then bring it on back down to the floor. From here, let's bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. And then we'll step on back into standing forward bend. Bring your hands up to your hips, bend your knees, rise on up, and inhale the arms up and overhead. Exhale, bring them down together in front of your heart. Take a couple breaths here before we move with the breath. So sun salutations, 2 sets, really letting yourself follow your breath through. Breathing, the most important part of these next 2 sun salutations. So releasing your arms on down beside you, let your inhale rise the arms up, and let your exhale be what carries you forward. Inhale into that long back, Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. And your exhale lower you down. And your inhale brings you into your cobra of choice. Your exhale brings you back to down dog. Inhale, exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale, exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way to the top. And let your exhale bring you forward. Let your inhale lengthen out your spine. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. Inhale, exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale, exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale, exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising up to the top. And on the exhale, coming on forward again. Inhale, find that long back. We're going to go into down dog. However you want to get there. If you feel like jumping, jump. Walk in your dog a little bit. Take your time. And then bring your feet a little closer together. Bring your left leg up in the air behind you. Now the toes are facing down. You're still squared off in your hips. And you're equal, pressing back out of your hands. Sometimes you kind of favor that left hand when you do these. See if you can maybe just feel as equal as you can, pressing back out of your hands. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. You might want your blocks. I don't know if you will or not, but have them handy. Come on up into your warrior one. So get your legs established. Let yourself feel really good about this openness in the front of your right hip, and of course that heel grounded. Great psoas pose right here. Bring your hands to your heart for a second. Settle in. Start to feel really good now. Very symmetrical, even though you're not. In other words, you feel balanced, no matter whether you're symmetrical or not. And then let's inhale the hands up through the midline. Open them into that wide V like we did before. Turn your pinkies even more towards each other there. Bring your gaze up a little bit if you can. Imagine there's a bar right at the base of your shoulder blades, and you're lifting up and over that bar. The belly's really engaged. There's no compression in your low back. Everything feels lengthened, right? Low back is lengthened. Top buttock muscle of that right buttock is reaching down towards your heel. Good. One more breath here. And then let your gaze come forward and bring your hands right back down to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And let's unfold our arms down. We're going to turn sideways on our mat. Get our feet at least as wide as your shoulders, wider at least, or more. Parallel them out, right? And then bring your arms straight on out from your shoulders, palms down. But let them come up a little higher. So once the hands rise up higher, the shoulders naturally want to melt down, right? So coming into your five-pointed star. Just make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward, up under you. Tailbone is reaching down, like if your heels were underneath you, you'd be reaching down towards between your heels, almost behind your heels. Good, and now let's lower our left hand down onto our left outside of the leg. And slide that hand down your leg lower. So you come into side stretch now. Start to turn your right palm forward. So the right palm is actually facing towards that long side of your mat. And breathe into that side you're stretching, into that right side. And then we're going to rise slowly back up. We're going to switch arms. Right hand comes down to the outside of your right leg. It slides down as it does. And you come into that side stretch. Let the left palm face forward. You know, be mindful, let yourself be easy there. One more breath. And then make your way on back up to your five-pointed star. Bringing those arms on out, palms face down. One more breath. And as you exhale, bend your knees, come on forward into your wide-legged forward bend. Grab your blocks if you'd like. Once you get your hands to block to the floor, move over to the right, whether you walk your hands on the floor or you shift your blocks. Go as far as you want and then stay there. And feel the left foot pressing gently away from the midline. So you get a little bit more in that inner left leg there. And then we're going to walk back to center, and we'll go the other side. So again, you can be on a block, more in front of your foot. You can be holding on to the outside of your ankle. Press the right foot now away from the midline a little bit of the body, so you come into a little deeper stretch into that right inner thigh. And then we'll come on back into center. And now, bend both your knees. Walk your hands way out like you're doing dog, right? But let your hands be wider than in your down dog. And then let the chest melt down towards the ground. So knees are bent. You're reaching back through your sitting bones still like you do in dog, but your hands are a little bit wider. Let the heart melt down. Feel that openness there in the chest. Feel that release between the shoulder blades on your back. And then walk your hands back closer, and you decide how you want to set up to stay in this pose for a few breaths. Do you want to bring your hands between your feet, the traditional pose? Or hold your ankles, or put blocks underneath your head, or your forearms, or your hands? Just find your way to where it's very easy to watch your breath. And then be with your breath. Watching the breath all the way in and out. Let your face soften. Good. One more full deep breath here. And we are going to walk ourselves back out so we can walk back to the left foot. Come back into our lunge. And from here we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Walk to the tops of the feet a couple of times. Really pressing into the top of your toes, one foot at a time. So you get into releasing through the feet. And then when you're ready, you can come into vinyasas or kriyas if you choose. You can come out for planks, move through to up dogs, or come, if you like, down with your knees and rest in child's pose, or stay in your dog pose. Right? You don't have to do these, or you don't even have to add a back bend. You can come out to plank, go from dog to plank and back again. Just play. And when you're ready, finish off the one you're on so that we can meet back in down dog. Nice. And from here, we'll bring the right foot forward. We're coming up for that warrior one on this side. So again, remember, warrior one, traditionally it was taught with this right foot in front of the left, either at the heel or the middle of the foot. But now, you know, if you feel better to let your feet separate wider, like you have your feet a little further apart like you're on narrow railroad tracks. Sometimes that's just better in the hips. So you have to adjust accordingly to what your body says, right? And then just release your arms down for a second. Bend your elbows. Bring your hands to meet in front of your heart, bringing your gaze forward. Good. Let's inhale the hands up through the midline and then open them into that really wide V. So even bring the arms a little bit forward so you don't feel like they're way back behind you, but they're a little bit forward and the pinkies are turned towards each other. And you can just rise your gaze up and feel that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. And feel energy all the way up through your fingertips. Feel that openness in the front of the left hip. Make sure you're thinking of your arches of your feet lifting up. One more breath. And then we're going to release our arms on down beside us. We're going to turn sideways again for that wide legged forward bend. But first, find your five-pointed star. And then from here, from your five-pointed star, bring your left arm on top of your right. Do your eagle wrap again here. And then bend your knees and come forward, all right? So you're like you're coming into your wide-legged forward bend, but stay parallel to the floor. So don't go upside down. Stay parallel to the floor with your back. Let your arms kind of hang. You don't even have to go that far. Knees can be bent. Let it feel good. have to do the wrap. And then come on back up, press into your feet, rise back up, and just switch your arms. So bring the right arm on top. You can do hugging, you can go into your wrap, whichever feels best. And then bend your knees a little bit as you again come forward. Now you can stay flat backed right here. Now some of you this time might want to keep going and bring your head down, your elbows up towards your belly, and really be upside down here. That's up to you. Stay parallel to the floor with your back if you'd rather. And now we're going to undo our arms, let our hands come on down to blocks of the floor. Adjust your stance. If you want to get a little wide or a little less wide, do. Bend the knees, do what feels good. Move the way you need so you can set up to be in your pose. And just enjoy once you get there. Just follow those breaths. Imagine your inhales and exhales are equally important, which they are. One more breath. And now we're going to bring our hands back out so we can walk back over to that right foot. So make your way on back over to the right foot. And we'll come on back into down dog from here. Good. Again, you're on your own. If you need to put your knees down, rest in child's pose. If you'd like to move through any kind of vinyasas or kriyas, remember, this is like your time to follow what your body feels like doing today. And every day is different, right? If you're tired and you want to stop. If you feel like you want to go slower or faster in your movements, by all means do. Good. Now let's finish off whatever we are doing and come on back into down dog. And we will bring our left foot forward this time. We're coming up for warrior two. You might want your blocks handy. Have them there just in case. This time, do think of lining up your heels and bringing yourself into bending that front knee right out over the center of your foot. And then bring your left hand down to your thigh. Turn your fingers so they come kind of inward towards your inner thigh there. So your arm is turned so the elbow's out. And then just keep looking at your left knee or foot. Rise your right arm up. Let your palm face towards the front of your mat. Let your head bow so you're releasing your neck here. You're looking down at your knee or your foot. One more breath. We're going to come to warrior two arms. We're going to rise our gaze up, lower the back arm down, and rise the front arm up, and come into warrior two. Pressing the feet gently away from each other. Softening the shoulders down, reaching out through the fingertips. You know, if it helps you for your hands to be a little higher, if that encourages you to let your shoulders release, do. And then we'll bring our right hand down to our right leg, turn our left palm up, and inhale, reach up, or even slide the right hand down more and reach back a little bit into your reverse warrior. Good. One more breath. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle, where we either bring our left hand or our forearm to our thigh. And go ahead, if you want to add that top arm, bring it on up into line. Turn the right pinky down towards the ground. Press into that left hand or forearm. Lengthen out through both sides of the body. And really think about drawing that outer left hip back a little, which will give you even more in that underside of the body. One more breath. And now turn to look down at the floor. And we're going to come into lunge from here, bringing our hands down to either the blocks or the floor. Releasing that right heel directly behind us. And as you add your twist of choice, you can bring your left hand up to your low back. You can stretch the left arm up. You can come into twisted prayer, bringing your right elbow onto your left knee. Twisting there, and if you feel good to do that, go right ahead. And then we'll release to bring our hand back down. We're going to come on back into downward facing dog pose from here. Reach your way back, walk through your dog, and if you want to come through vinyasas or kriyas, now's the time. Before we do the other side, if you want to slip something else in, by all means do. Good. And then we'll meet back. If you're doing something on each side, make sure you even out. And then when you're ready, you finish off in your dog. If you really feel your dog, feel your elbows hugging towards each other. We are going to bring our right foot forward this time. And we're coming up for that warrior two on the other side. So again, line up those heels. Bend that front knee. Put your right hand on your thigh. Turn your fingers to the inner thigh. And then when you rise that left arm up, you're just letting your head look down towards your knee or your foot. Releasing that outer right hip back a little bit. Now when you're ready to come into that warrior two, let it feel so easy. It's like it just unfolds. The arms come on out into your warrior two arms. You bring your gaze out over the top of that right hand. You feel your feet in the floor. Arches lifting up. Feeling that power and strength of your warrior. And then bring your left hand down to your left leg there. Turn your right palm up. Slide your left hand down a little farther. If you want to go farther back, it'll give you support. Breathing into the right ribs. And on your exhale, coming into your side angle. So you know your hand, right hand or forearm can come to your thigh. You can decide about adding that top arm up. So you're pressing into that right hand or forearm. Drawing the outer right hip back so your knee is still lined up, and you've found that length now through both sides of the body. Think of your head being in line with your spine too. Yes, everybody. You might even want to turn to look up. If you like to turn to look up, you can look up towards your hand or the ceiling. One more breath here. And now turn to look at the floor. We're going to come into lunge. So bringing your hands down to the floor or the blocks, whatever you like to use. And adding that twist. So you can either just bring your right hand up to your low back or your hip, or you can stretch your arm up. You can do twisted prayer, bringing your left elbow towards that right knee if you'd rather. One more breath. And then we'll bring that hand on back down. We're going to come back into down dog. And these are the last vinyasas or kriyas or whatever else you want to do right now. So be mindful. Put your knees down if you need to. Play with picking feet up or, just be easy. Let yourself move through whatever feels good to you. If you need to do a back bend, do it. If you're like wanting to stay in dog, do that. And then we'll meet back in down dog. And from here, let's bend our knees really deeply. Think about your belly coming onto your thighs, or at least trying to. And then glance up between your hands, see how far it is, and decide if you want to jump or walk your way forward. So getting your feet up there by your hands, let yourself come on into standing forward bend. And be mindful if you need support underneath your elbows over your knees to give your low back support or anything else, do. Or if you like to hang. And breathe. Full deep breaths now. See if you can feel if your inhales and exhales are kind of naturally evened out in length a little bit. So count when you inhale. See if you reach the same count when you exhale. And see if you can reach the same count when you exhale as you inhale. Or even a little bit longer exhales are good. And from here, let's let our hands come on back up to our hips and bend our knees, press into our feet and come up to standing. And let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down to be in front of our hearts. Coming into your mountain pose. If you feel like you want to float up off the floor, go right ahead, but let yourself be really mindful of getting the alignment there in the pelvis and then letting the body feel what it wants to feel here. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us and move around, whatever you need to do, shake out. And we do have room to come to a wall. We may have to finagle a little bit here, but we're going to bring our mats into a wall. So you two, yeah, you can be there, and Lana, you can be there. I think that we can get three. You three are right there. Actually, Marta, you can come up here by me, and that way, Irina and Catherine can be on that wall. Would that be okay? You okay with that, Marta? Yeah. So, I'll move this thing so you won't have to be confronted with this. How's that? So we're staying here, so make sure you have everything, your blocks and stuff and such. So let's start with getting a block, in fact, and turning our left hand towards the wall. Let yourself get your block between your left foot and the wall, lowest height. And then, at first, come on to standing on your left foot and do that figure four where you cross your right ankle above your knee and you shift your hips back and you warm up a little bit there in the hip, coming into that figure four. So you're not on the block's beside your foot. And then you can decide if you want to balance there for a second before we do some eagle, right? So you may decide, I don't really feel good balancing right here, but you might. You might want to bring your hands to your heart. And then come up enough to cross your right thigh all the way over your left. Put your foot on the block for a second. So as you come thigh over thigh, it's like woman cross-legged, right? First, put your toes on the block and do a little balance there where you're squeezing your thighs towards each other. You're lifting your pelvic floor. Hands can be at your heart. You may decide to do your eagle wrap, left arm on right, over top of right if you like to do everything. Don't go too long because come up enough to see if you can flex your foot off, toes off the block. And now when the toes are off the block, see if you can think about balancing there, right? If it's too much, don't do it. If you're a rapper and you like to wrap your toes around behind your foot, by all means do. When you've had entirely enough of that, come on up. And we're going to turn around and go to the other side. So that first step of crossing your ankle above your knee, that figure four, you don't have to bend your knee very deeply. Just saying. You can bend it quite deeply, really get into the hip. It is the left ankle. It's the outside leg that crosses. So, you may want to go pretty far back and stay right there, right? Just let yourself enjoy warming up a little bit for your eagle. Once you do come up and do thigh over thigh, toes on the block, sitting back with your hips, coming forward with your torso a little bit, squeezing your thighs towards each other, you may decide to add the right arm on top of the left and do your eagle wrap with your eagle legs there. So then you are all wrapped up, that's for sure. And if you like to practice bringing yourself into the foot, toe, holding on behind that right leg, do it. Otherwise, try just lifting your toes off the block with your hand on the wall. So that's a really hard, it's work, but it's really good hip work. You can balance a little bit there if you choose. Good. And then let yourself come on out of that. Release your way around back to the wall. And come on down for a second. Let yourself come on into pose of a child with your toes, tips of your toes touching the wall. And shift back. You can put your forehead on your arms or your hands as a pillow. You can put your head down. If you need your hips to stay up because it's too much to shift back with your hips, too much in your knees, you can still relax really in this pose with your bottom up in the air, frankly. It feels kind of good. It definitely will still release your hips and your low back. And it takes any stress out of your knees, right? Or your hips, wherever it is that's kind of bothering you. Just be mindful. Good. And now bring your arms on forward. Come onto your forearms. Let's do just a brief little dolphin with our heels up the wall. So you can have your hands separated, forearms parallel to each other. Or you can clasp your hands, send your pinky out, whichever feels best for you, all know that. And you can come up with your heels up the wall. with your pressure into your forearms and your sit bones drawing way back. You can bend your knees, play a little bit there. Of course, if you like to put a leg up the wall, I'm not going to stop anybody. If anybody wants to play, you're welcome to. And then, of course, we've got the 3 blocks some of us do. So if you decide you want to turn around at any point in time, you can do your 3 blocks. And I'm going to stack them to review how. So anybody who wants to look, it's the bottom block to the highest height. The top 2 blocks turn to the lowest height, but there's 2 of them. And there's a little space. You want another block? There's one here, Martha. No, you're okay. There's a little space behind this bottom block. Do you want to try this, Betsy? Okay. So take your time. Remember, when you're on these blocks here, you're pressing between your shoulder blades into the blocks and you don't have any weight in your head. It is a preparation for headstand and for dolphin. It's a really great thing because there is no weight in your head. You can release right where you feel those blocks in your shoulder blades. You can lift a leg up from here too. You can go all the way up to your forearm stand if you want. All right, so be mindful if you're doing these. And it's fine just to stay right here, really feeling that pressure. It's like a massage is what it is. It feels great. You can lift up if you want. You can use the wall behind you or not. And when you're ready to rest, you rest the way you need. You can rest in child's pose. You can rest sitting up to have your head up above your heart again if you'd rather. Just be mindful. Good. When you get ready to come down, to stay down, we're all going to make our way onto our bellies. Okay, so if you need to rest a little bit, if you were already still up and you need to rest in some way, do. When you do get ready to come down onto your belly, you can come onto your forearms for a second and just let the back release there, coming into your Sphinx pose. Good. Yeah, you can face either direction. It doesn't matter. We are going to do a little back bending here. So we're going to come down and bring our arms down alongside us. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And as you inhale, float your head and your legs up. So keep your hands down for a second in your locust. Let your elbows be soft. Feel the legs that reach up. Your chest opens. Now float your hands off the floor and let them come just a little out wider. Not straight out from your shoulders, but just a little out wider. Just enjoy feeling that lift in the back body. And we're going to release down. And from here, bring your hands under your head. Make a little pillow for your head. Rest your forehead. And then bend your knees and let your lower legs come a little bit side to side. Circle your feet too if you want. In other words, move how you want to find release. Good. And then from here, let your feet come on back down, legs back down long. And on your next inhale, float your head up off your hands a little bit. So there you are. You're kind of actually, you can use the arms there in front of you to give you a little support. And then let your left forearm come a little more midline and bend your right knee. See if you can reach your right foot back and do a little half bow. So you can press the foot into your hand. Let yourself be happy there. If you feel like you need to lower your head down, do. And then we're going to switch legs. So come back onto your right forearm. Your head can stay almost on it, on the arm if you want. You can lift the head up. You can reach the hand back. You don't have to get your foot. You know that. You can feel the foot gently pressing into your hand a little bit. Feel your quad. And then come on back down. And we'll make your way back into that locust pose again. reaching back as you lift up. And now you can decide if you want to do a bow pose. You can come down from your locust. You can bend your knees, reach back and get your feet, and come up into your bow pose. Totally optional. Stay in your locust if you prefer to. Nice. And we're going to release our way down and come on back through a brief child's pose. Let yourself shift back. Just find that release in the low back and the hips for just about 3 or 4 breaths. Because we'll do something else that also releases after those back bends. And then bring your hands back by your knees, and we're going to come on up, and we're going to bring our legs around in front of us. So you know, if sitting is best done for you, grab your blanket. If you want to be up on a blanket, do. Stretch your legs out for a second. Circle through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Let yourself do little wiper blades however you want. And then let's bring our left foot in. Our right leg is out long, and your left foot can come to the inside of your thigh. It can be below your knee. If your knee is wonky, put a block underneath it. So you'll know, especially as you come forward for this seated forward bend, you'll know if your knee is iffy, right? Because once you move forward, sometimes the knee or the hip gets a little kind of catch in it. So use support if you need underneath. Ease your way forward from your low back. Take your time. I know some of you are fine to bring your hands to your foot. Some of you even like to cross your wrists and hold the outside edges of your foot there. So if that feels good, you can do it. And if you're like, yeah, well, I just want to leave my hands right here and bring myself forward too. So you come where you can. Low back leads you forward. Once you get to a place that feels really good, if you want to let your head hang, round a little bit into the upper back, it's fine. As long as it feels okay to you. Good. One more breath here. Now, easily bring yourself back up. Stay here. Take a nice inhale when you're at the top. And as you exhale, twist to your left. Bring yourself on around. And it doesn't matter where you bring that right hand. Just let yourself come on around into twist. Feel the lift of the pelvic floor. Think of your sitting bones drawing down towards the ground. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Good. One more breath. And now use your belly to bring yourself back around so that we can switch to bring the other leg out. So left leg comes out, right leg comes in. Here you are, a new leg, a new knee, a new hip over here on the right side. You do what you need to do. You don't even have to bend that knee at all, right? So if you know you have things happening where you have to support yourself or change your pose a little bit, do. And as you ease forward from your low back, take your time. Give your hamstring time to release, let yourself be where you can to where you feel really good to come forward over that leg. It's like your midline of your body comes out over the inside of your left leg. It's a strict forward bend, really. And then just take your time. Watch your breaths in and out. Nice. One more breath. And now we're going to slowly come on back up. Take an inhale here at the top. And as you exhale, twist to your right. So bring yourself around. Again, it does not matter where your hands come. Let yourself find that twist. Feel really good to feel that twist in the middle of the back. You know, and don't stress your neck out. If it feels good to turn to look back towards the back wall, you can. One more breath. And now just let yourself unwind. Come on back around into center and stretch your legs on out in front of you. Shake them out a little bit. And bring your hands behind you. Now, you can, we'll try a little reverse plank. If you don't want to lift up your hips, don't do it. You can turn your hands either fingertips facing kind of towards the wall, 45 almost degree angle actually with your hands, and think of lifting up from there with your hips, or you can turn your fingertips towards the foot of your mat. But when you do lift up, if your shoulders tell you not to, come down and don't do it, right? You can look up towards the ceiling. You can let yourself just come down whenever you choose. And if it feels really bad, sometimes changing the way the hands are makes a huge difference. So sometimes the difference between turning the fingers back or letting the fingertips face the front of the mat is huge. Good. And you know, this is really hard on the wrist, so you come down when you're ready. Good. Nice. Take care of your wrists however you want. You can turn your hands over. You can wrap your hands around your wrist, open and close, of course, circle, whatever feels good. We are going to lie down on our backs, though, from here. So take your time. Let yourself come on down. Bring your knees on into your chest. And, you know, without holding your knees, let your arms come out beside you into a T position. And then just let the knees shift from side to side. So your knees are in. You're just barely rolling from the top of one hip to the top of the other. And now when your knees go right, turn your head to the left. Stay there for a breath. And then shift and go to the left with the knees and turn your head to the right. So now if you want to go lower with the knees, when they go to the right this time, if you want them to go down towards the ground, you can. You can stay in your twist there if you want and stay and breathe. You can use a block if you want. Put it underneath that right side so that you support the legs up a little higher too. And then come on back through center and the head looks up, and then you're going to go to the left again. If you don't want to go all the way to the floor, maybe try supporting. Put blocks underneath the outside of that left leg. If your legs can go all the way over, you can just rest them on the floor. Turn your head a little to the right. If none of those feel good, obviously don't do them. Good. And then come on back into center again when you're ready. And place your feet on the floor. And you might want to do a couple little pelvic tilts. And we are going to do a bit of a bridge pose. And if you're like, I don't want to do any more like really working hard poses, you can grab a block and do supported bridge. You can put a block underneath your sacrum. You can use 2 blocks. Or you can bring your arms down alongside you, setting up for bridge, and go ahead and float on up into your bridge pose. So let it be kind of this much towards the end of class. Let it be like your body determining how far you want to go here. If you are in your bridge, if it feels good to lift your heels up, you can. That can be kind of fun. And you can even feel your quads a little more that way. If you can keep your hips where they are when you lower your heels, then you're maybe up a little higher in your bridge. But don't force anything. Really take your time. There might be something else entirely you need to do. So not forcing, coming down whenever you choose, or stay in your support for a while if you like. You've got time here. I am just going to start to get the lights, but that doesn't mean that you need to stop what you're doing. You have plenty of time. Be easy, like when you do get ready to come down, I know some of you already have, just remember to let your back release the way you need. Bringing your knees in towards your chest, or, you know, some people want to do a happy baby pose or a cow pose, or, you know, it could be any number of things that sound good to you right now to help you release. Yes, please. Stand there. I guess my name is.
Sound like you said, who do you think you are? No. What? No, I can't say that. I didn't think you did, but that's what it sounded like.
Okay, so I'm still looking. Anybody needs anything, wave at me. Let yourself enjoy. You know, it takes a little bit to allow yourself to release, doesn't it? Just start to enjoy the feeling of the ground underneath you. And let yourself accept your breaths in and out. Just enjoy coming into watching the wave of your breath. Nothing you need to do in order to breathe. You just receive your breaths. When your mind wanders off, you just bring yourself back to your breath. Whatever helps you do that. If counting your breaths helps, or thinking a word or a mantra when you breathe helps you come back to focusing to your breath again. But just give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Letting yourself trust your body to get what it needs from all we just did. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax. Rest easily. Feel the movement as you breathe in and out. Feel energy starting to come back to you so that when you're ready to move, it feels like natural to move through your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. And of course, taking your time, what you need to do, whether it's stay on your back or roll to your right or your left side. Just really follow the natural inclination of your body as you come back to moving again. So stretching or bending, taking your time, and appreciating the ground a little bit longer if you can. Happy gravity's holding you down there. And of course, when you feel like rising up, see if you can let yourself float your way up so that it feels almost effortless to come up again, to get seated comfortably and let your head be the last thing that comes to rise, to float up there on top. And just let your eyes stay closed as you come up. Bring your awareness back once you're seated comfortably back to watching your breath. On your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Tuesday. In August